And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I hope it's good to you, at least these first 2 hours. And now we head toward this hour today, which I've been looking forward to for quite some time. Omar Epps has starred in some classic and impactful films. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take you back in a couple seconds here. I just want to play the trailer for Juice because just hearing that thing does so much to me, and for those of us who love that film. All those years ago. But he starred in so many classic and impactful films, but he's also an accomplished author. And I am delighted to have him on this program today for a career conversation and to talk about his latest book. It's called Nubia, The Reckoning. If you didn't know that Omar Epps was an accomplished author, well, now you do. And this is the finale to a Nubia duology. A few books have been written with these characters, and we'll talk about that. So I'm glad we got him for the hour. It's going to be a great conversation with Omar Epps. But first, let me just do a throwback and take you back to the trailer for Juice.
Enter the dragon as I start the record, attack this nigga, the banging rappers on the bandwagon. Feel the fury of a venom, game where men are slaves.
No, you're sexy.
Thank you. Sir? Sir, can I check that newspaper? Sir, where are you going? Get a job, why don't you?
People call me Q or GQ.
What, did names like Mustafa and Akbar become too hard to spell?
Yo, well, I'm serious now.
Well, I'm serious too, Raheem, and this does not make you a man.
I should let you have her.
Don't you remember? I let you have her.
Almost empty.
We went from the cops, we went from security guards, like I'm on the damn track team. If you want respect, you gotta earn it. You gotta be ready to throw down, stand up, and die for that stuff if you want to, Jew. Check this out. It's gonna be a piece of cake, Q.
Yeah, man, it'll be a piece of cake. We go in right before 11, get the loot, and jet. I got a DJ Saturday night, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to miss that for nobody.
I hold on to the gun.
Why should he hold on to the gun?
Because I already got it. You didn't have to shoot him, make a move.
I want to ask you boys some questions.
Did you leave the club at any time tonight?
You're mixed up in it, aren't you?
I think Bishop lost it, man.
Who killed him?
I'm the one y'all need to be worried about.
Hey, yo, man. If you didn't do nothing, then you got nothing to worry about. I know who killed him.
Do him in if I have to.
All right, Omar Epps, let's get this party started. It is impossible, to my mind, sir, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip-hop without considering a film like Juice that has already gone down as a classic hip-hop film with an amazing soundtrack. So let me just start by asking Omar, first of all, I'm delighted to have you on the program, my friend and brother. But when you hear that trailer from all those years ago, like what's going through your head on the phone line listening to that trailer?
History. Well, first and foremost, it's just good to be speaking with you, and thank you for having me on. Just a lot of history. obviously hearing Tupac's voice and just brings back a lot of great memories and just the whole gamut. It's, that was my first film so long ago, 17 years old. And, just makes my heart smile.
Yeah. Take me back. Tell me something about the filming. I'm always fascinated by backstories. We know the film. We've seen the film countless times. We love the film. Again, as I said, it's part of the iconography, if you will, as far as I'm concerned, of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. But just tell me anything you want to tell me about the filming. It was your first film. You were just 17 then. You've done so much since then, and we'll talk about your career over the course of this hour, and of course your book. But tell me something about the filming, and just take me back to 17-year-old Omar Epps on his first film set, basically.
Oh yeah, I mean it was I was living the dream, man. I was a young kid, right out of high school, and I was one of those kids. I wanted to figure it out right out. I didn't want to go to college right after school. I wanted to, kind of feel my way out. I was going to get a job, but I was auditioning, and I booked this thing, man. And next thing you know, taking the train up to the set in Harlem, and I'm from Brooklyn. I'm from New York, so it was just kind of like, another part of the city, and it just happened so fast. We just got to work. It felt special to me what we were doing, but I didn't know the magnitude of what we were doing. But it just felt fun. It felt special. It was a story that we all, I think, all of us, Khalil and Jermaine, Tupac and myself, we related to in some form. And having Ernest Dickinson as our skipper, as it were, was great. The crew was great. Some little, rough around the edges sometimes on set, but that's filming in New York back in those days, before there were cameras everywhere. Yeah. No pun intended.
we just getting started with Omar Epps. I got a couple of questions I want to ask in follow-up to what he just said now. So we're gonna talk a bit more about Juice. Again, it's 50 years of hip-hop, and it's classic. Juice is just a classic film. So I got a couple more questions about that. And then we're going to talk about his career since that. And one of the things that fascinates me, I'll hold that. I'll tell you what fascinates me when we come forward. Just getting started with Omar Epps. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfected like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Coming 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bussin', truckin'. Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450 mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with SCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
Hello?
Man, where are you? I thought you were coming.
I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf. Man, I'll call you back.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of This Light of Ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This Light of Ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This Light of Ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep, that is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
Mayfresh Daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Sip the juice, I got enough to go around, and the thought takes place uptown. I grew up on a sidewalk while on street talk, and then taught to Hawk, New York. I go to Queens for Queens to get the food from Brooklyn. Make money in Manhattan and never been tooken. Go uptown to the Bronx and boogie down, get strong on the island, recoup and lay around.
Nothing quite like a great film with a great soundtrack, and that's what you got with Juice. The soundtrack is fire. Even all these years later, and the film is still just as amazing. And it's a beautiful thing to look back and to see a young Omar Epps, 17 years old then, a young Tupac, just an amazing cast. Ernest Dickinson is the skipper. Just an amazing project as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. Couldn't have a better time. There couldn't be a better time. Couldn't be a more propitious moment to be in dialogue with Omar Epps right about now. And he has a new book out. It's called Nubia, The Reckoning. And so just a lot to talk about in this hour of this career conversation with this great thespian, Omar Epps, who I'm delighted to have as our guest. So, Omar, you had me laughing a moment ago. You were telling me that, there were always little skirmishes, always some skirmishes, always a little drama when you're trying to push out a project like this on the streets of New York. Is there something in particular that you remember that jumps out at you?
Well, there's a bunch of stuff. Pac had some run-ins with the locals, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But just, again, we were rough and tumble. I was taking a train to set and staying with our first AD, Randy, because I lived far out in Brooklyn and we were filming all the way up in Harlem. So it was, it was easier for me to stay with him. He lived downtown Brooklyn. And, stuff like that. Stuff that was just a little bit outside of the box, but we made it work and we had fun.
Yeah. When you, to your point earlier, and I was struck by your phrase, Omar, that you knew that you were doing something that felt special. You didn't know exactly what was going to come of it. And I suspect that's true for many artists. When they're in the midst of doing something, they get this good feeling. They get this this thing in their gut that they think they got something, and you never really know until it actually happens, right? So it felt special. Right. It turns out to actually be special, but who knew the way your career was going to take off? And I want to come back to your career in a second here, but let me just pivot just for a quick second since you mentioned Pac. When you look back on that and the opportunity you had to work with him at that point in his life and his career, nobody knew then what would happen years later, but how do you situate that, working with him at that point in his and your life on something that turns out to be classic and he ain't even here anymore?
Yeah, I look back, it really, the word that comes to mind is it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Tupac was one of those cats, we both felt like we were getting to it, and I knew he was going places, and I think that he felt that I was going places, and so we just, as that term is, still sharp and still. We just push each other, and he was one of those special individuals, very, very articulate, very intelligent and passionate, and he had that thing you can't put into words. He had an energy about him, and he was writing his first album while we were filming, so I was privy to that part of the process, and just him as an actor. I always selfishly, his demise came so early, but. I felt that, selfishly, I was robbed of seeing him blossom as an actor because he was really good, man. So we just, we just enjoyed that time. We immersed ourselves into that time, and through these characters, we just push one another towards our respective greatness.
Yeah. Speaking of your respective greatness, he did his thing, and you certainly have done yours, and still are. Thank God, still doing it. I was looking at watching Juice not long ago. As a matter of fact, just taking myself back to get ready for our conversation today, and one of the things that jumped out at me, Omar, about your career, and there are many other people about whom I cannot say the following, and that is that you did not get pigeonholed in that or by that role. You didn't get pigeonholed playing that kind of character. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When the audience gets introduced to a young black man in a particular way, for many people it is hard. Impossible for many others to break out of that sort of stereotypical role, no matter how classic the film may be. And I could even argue that the more classic the film is, the harder it is to break out of that sort of role, because that's the only way people see you. What say you all these years later about the fact that did not, as classic as it was, that it did not box your career in? I look at all the things you have played, all the stuff you are playing, Power Book 3. We're gonna get to all of it in this hour. But how do you look back on that moment and see that you didn't, or it didn't box you in?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I was fortunate. I say this, it has historical context to it. In my opinion, I stand on the shoulders of giants. So for me, being shepherded by, a hero like a Sidney Poitier, Belafonte and the like, knowing our history in black cinema, and also I was a victim of great circumstance, not good circumstance. I came up in the Spike Lee renaissance of black cinema, so we were putting Hollywood's feet to the fire, if you will, and it was a time where it also was intentional on my behalf. A lot of times when I speak with people and we reflect back on my career in the 90s, I spent most of my time saying no to things because that's really what it was. It was intentional. I always looked at my career as, even at that point, as a mosaic, if you will. And I knew that each project was a piece of a bigger puzzle. I'm still building that puzzle out to see the greater picture. But with that said, I was very intentional on, which roles I picked and why. And then you have to combine that with the opportunities that come your way, right? Yeah. So that's why I say I was very fortunate, because there was a generation before me who were very skilled and talented, but maybe didn't quite have the opportunities that I was fortunate to have. And I look at the next generation, the generation now, I look at them the same way. There are opportunities afforded to them that I didn't have. And that's why I'm so happy for them and seeing them take the bull by the reins in the way that they are.
Yep. This is getting rich, as we say. It's getting good. It's getting good, Omar. There are 3 or 4 things you said just now that I want to unpack. Let me jump right quick. The first is your invocation of the names of Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte. I think many of my audience know that both of those guys were friends of mine, dear friends. I miss them dearly. Mr. Poitier and I had lunch together, literally lunch together every other Tuesday in the same place for 27 years. So I sat at his feet for 27 years every other Tuesday. Mr. B, dear friend of mine, miss both of those guys deeply. And since you mentioned Mr. Poitier, if he were here right now, he would tell you, as he said to me many, many times, Tavis, my career is really not defined by the roles that I said yes to. It's really defined by all the things I said no to. If you talk to Denzel, D would tell you the same thing. We know him. We think we know him for the stuff that he's done, but the real story is the stuff he turned down. And here comes Omar Epps saying the same thing. So you're part of that pantheon of people who are willing to acknowledge that the stuff that we know you for ain't really what defines your career. If we knew the stuff you said no to that might have derailed your career or taken a different direction, et cetera, it'd be a different conversation. So when you said you spent a good part of that of your life then saying no to stuff, what kind of stuff are you saying no to?
Well, just stuff that didn't, the ingredients that didn't mix well with the pot of gumbo I was trying to make.
Gotcha.
Cooking up.
Gotcha. I got you. I got you.
That way. And I'd be remiss if I didn't speak on Mr. Poitier. I had the pleasure of meeting him a few times, and he's my acting hero. He's literally if I had to pick a sole reason why I wanted to be an actor, it's literally because of him. And one of the highlights, not of just my career, of my life, is when one day I was having a lunch and I walked in the restaurant and Mr. Portier was sitting there by himself having lunch. And I'm not a go up to a person type of guy. I'm more laid back, but this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. At the time, I was in my early 20s, and I just wanted to shake his hand. I'd never met him before, never seen him in person, and I couldn't believe it. It was like seeing a superhero, you know. And I walked up to him, and I just said, I don't want to disturb you. I just want to shake your hand, Mr. Portier. I love you. I adore you. Thank you so much for all that you've done. And, I'm a young actor, and and he stopped me and he said, I know who you are, son. He said, you do good work. And that was the, if you were playing a video game and you get the power boost, man, that struck my spirit. Man, that meant the world to me. And to this day, it just makes me smile. And I still take that energy that he gave me and I receive it the same to keep pushing forward to this very day. So I'm very thankful to have had that experience.
I was talking to a great actor. As you know, in my career, I've been fortunate to talk to pretty much everybody, including Omar Epps. And I was talking to a great actor one day, a person who had become a great actor. And I was asking him about his backstory. And he said to me, Tavis, let me just tell you this. I was a young actor, and one day, his story is similar to yours, Omar. He walked into a restaurant, and there sat Marlon Brando. And he went to Marlon Brando, as you did to Mr. P., and expressed himself in a similar fashion. And Brando stopped him and said, young man, I know who you are, and I appreciate the good work that you're doing. You got a great career in front of you. And he said, the good news was I was empowered by that, Tavis, and I kind of levitated out of that restaurant. I didn't walk out. I just levitated out. He said, the bad news is, he said, ain't nobody been able to tell me nothing since then. Marlon Brando said that. Right. Sidney Poitier told me that I was a good actor. Yeah. And so I don't. All opinions ain't created equal. And so this guy was telling me that since Marlon Brando, ain't nobody been able to tell him nothing because Brando told him that he was onto something. And so I love your story about Mr. P. Two other things you said right quick that I want to come to. I love this phrase you use. Here comes Omar Epps dropping bars that he's a victim. He's been a victim of great circumstances. I love that phrase, Omar. A victim of great circumstances. I love that, man.
Yeah, because I believe that opportunity will knock at everyone's door at some point. But are you prepared, for the opportunity when it comes? Because a lot of people like to look at the difficulty in every opportunity instead of looking at the opportunity in every difficulty. And that's very important because though I am an artist and I'm in the creative arts, it is a business. And, once you get out on your own and you get your apartment or your whatever, and you got to live, you got to maintain, you got to pay bills, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a chosen profession. There will come valleys with the peaks, and you got to have the fortitude to make your way through that while maintaining your moral compass, your integrity, your artistic integrity, and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's why I say victim of great circumstance, because again, Spike Lee is one of my heroes in this thing of ours. The films that he was making back then were, striking you to the core of the Black experience in America at that time, and he was out there on the ledge by himself, leading the way. So for me, as a young, hungry, aspiring artist, I wanted to sort of take that baton and run alongside with him in the ways that I could at that point, So I took this thing very seriously.
Yeah. In the 2 minutes I have left here, and we'll continue on the other side when we come forward. And I think this is the era that you were talking about. You also said earlier in this conversation, I'm still stuck on that phrase, victim of great circumstances. I'm going to use that line, Omar. The first time I use it, I'd actually give you attribution for it. After that, it's mine. But I love that line, victim of great circumstances. Very quickly here, you mentioned earlier that this particular era was an era that you viewed as us, Spike and others, putting Hollywood's feet to the fire. In 90 seconds, unpack what you meant by that for me. I think I get it.
Well, for decades prior, we had imagery was when it came to the Black experience in this country, a lot of it was negative. It wasn't all negative. You had some great films in between there, but for the most part, Hollywood had a copy and paste system that left us with a stain in the imagery of us. And you had a whole new generation that was educated, articulate, and able. And the time had come, the universe opened up for us to be able to, change the narrative or shift the narrative, progress it forward in terms of Black culture on film and in television.
I take it, and I thought that's what you meant, and I receive it. Our guest is Omar Epps, amazing actor, great writer. He's the star of the series Power Book 3, Raising Canaan, returning for its third season on Starz, December the 1st. Speaking of 50 years of hip-hop, produced by some guy named 50 Cent. We'll talk about that as we move through this hour. We've been talking and, of course, reminiscing about the early part of his career, Juice, and other great projects he has done. He's also a great writer. He has a new book out called Nubia, The Reckoning. We ain't even got to that yet. So glad I got a whole hour with Omar Epps on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Mike Johnson is confident in his plan to avert a government shutdown by the end of the week. Johnson's plan would fund some government agencies until mid-January and the rest through early February at current spending levels. He told reporters today that will give Congress enough time to properly go through the appropriations process. But a group of Republican hardliners say they'll vote against the bill due to the lack of spending cuts and conservative policy changes. The Washington, D.C. government wants to give students at locally historically Black colleges and universities a pathway into the public service sector. The city will offer an apprenticeship program to graduates of Howard University and the University of the District of Columbia. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Staples Holiday Deals mean amazing savings for the holiday season. Right now, save 50% on custom holiday cards and invitations, as well as custom photo gifts like mugs and calendars. Offer ends 12/16. Visit staples.com/print for more details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
Black Friday is Dell's biggest sale of the year. Get limited time deals, free shipping, and huge savings on laptops like the XPS 13. Engineered to do it all on the Intel Evo platform. Shop now at Dell.com/deals.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers are back in action tonight. The Lakers are at home against Memphis. LeBron is questionable with a calf contusion in his left leg. He will likely be a game-time decision. The Clippers are in a tough place to try to snap their 5-game losing streak. They're in Denver to take on the defending champion Nuggets. The Clippers are 0-4 with James Harden. USC's women's basketball team has a bona fide superstar on their roster. Freshman guard Juju Watkins had a game-high 35 points Monday night in the Trojans' easy win over Lemoyne. Watkins has scored 83 points in her first 3 games. USC is one of 5 Pac-12 schools ranked in the top 10 of this week's AP Women's College Basketball poll. UCLA is 3rd, followed by number 4 Utah, number 5 Colorado, and number 6 Stanford. USC is 10th. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk Radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose AmeriCorps.
Beloved Entertainment presents Sweet Spot Live with me, Angelique Francis, at the beautiful Miracle Theater at 226 South Market Street in Inglewood on Sunday, November 19th at 6 p.m. Join me with KBLA for short stories told live on stage with us, by us. Yes, our own storytellers straight from the neighborhood. Colorful and provocative live storytelling event celebrating our unique culture, our strength, our courage, our faith, and yes, our fire. We invite you to walk with us through the neighborhood, even run with us down our dark alleys if you dare. Just around the corner, there is laughter, unspeakable pain, secrets never told. But don't worry. The door is unlocked, and we're going to leave the porch light on. That's Sunday, November 19th at the Miracle Theater, 226 Market Street in Inglewood, 6 p.m. Yes, it is all happening right here in the Sweet Spot. Tickets available, sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com, sweetspotlive.eventbrite.com. We got a lot to talk about.
To some, this might sound like a typical family dog. But at Dog Chow, we know that for a veteran suffering from PTSD, this could be the sound of life-saving therapy.
Thanks, Betty.
That's why we've made it our mission to connect every military hero in need with a canine hero of their own. To learn about the simple ways you can help Dog Chow in our mission, visit dogchow.com/veterans.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Yeah.
I'm a hustler, baby. I'm a hustler, baby.
I know heartbreaks, setbacks. If I crap out, I'm sure I'ma get back. I've been through the ups and downs, you know I get around. So to me, it's all a part of the game. If I ain't the cocaine or the dope, man, I'm almost for sure, man. I gotta take it, no need to say I'm gonna take it. Robberies turn homicide, it's nothing to play with. Make money, make money. When shit hit the fan, we'll take money.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Our guest in this hour is the brilliant actor, Omar Epps. Also a great writer. We'll talk about his book, Nubia, The Reckoning, here in just a moment. But they're the sounds of 50 Cent. We've been talking about celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. And we started this conversation, in case you missed the top of our dialogue with Omar, talking about his classic role in Juice. And you can't talk about hip-hop 50 years in without talking about that film and the great soundtrack that accompanied that work that was helmed by Ernest Dickerson, starred Omar Epps and Tupac. Just an amazing cast, great film, even all these years later. But now, Omar is the star of a series called Power Book 3, Raising Canaan, set to return for its third season on Starz. It's exec produced by 50 Cent. Omar, for those who haven't as yet seen Power Book 3, and obviously many have, say a word about the project.
It's a great project. I think the story is really interesting. Patina Miller, who plays the lead, Rock, she is a tour de force and such a pleasure to work with. So I'm enjoying the ride.
Yep. It's a great project, and again, pleased to share that it returns for its third season on Stars December 1. So I guess a week or so ago, we had Eric LaSalle in here and had a great conversation. Had a great conversation with E. And I think some people were surprised, those who didn't know it. Obviously, he's done a number of books, and they've done quite well. So clearly he has a big fan base, as do you. But some folk were just sort of surprised to know that Eric LaSalle writes books, and I got the same response with you. Omar Epps writes books. I said, yeah, these Negroes are talented. They do all kind of stuff, man. They do all kind of stuff. Acting is just acting, directing, producing is just part of it. So I get to ask you the same question I asked Eric when he was here. How did this writing thing jump off? How did this happen for you?
That's a great question. Honestly, I began as a writer. I've been writing, for as long as I can remember. My mother was an educator in New York when I was growing up, so I was privy to a lot. And she was also an activist. So, I was always into reading and literature, and for me specifically history. And so, I would write short stories, poems, all types of stuff from a very young age. I'm talking 8, 9 years old. And so I've been writing all along. And then as my career blossomed as an actor, I was writing, but writing takes discipline, and you got to sit down and do it. And it just that time came for me where it was time to evolve and really dig into my original passion, which is writing. And so here we are now, 3 books later.
Yeah. What is it like being raised by a black mother who is both an educator and an activist?
Oh, it's incredible. And, people from New York from that time period, they know who my mother is. I've said she educated half of New York City, literally. So it was great. I just, and my mother and I talk about this to this day. One of the things I'm very thankful for is that she raised me with a sense of value, meaning she raised me with a sense of self-worth, which gave me the patience and the confidence not to go down certain roads and not to succumb to peer pressure and things of that nature. And also, it also raised me with a sense of community, the responsibility I had to my local community, and in the ways that I could, whether that was, helping elderly women across the street, or with their grocery bags or stuff like that, or, working odd jobs here and there, cleaning up, just a sense of the local environment where we live, that we all had a stake in it, and we had to look out for one another. So I carry that with me to this day.
I'm curious. We know all the issues on the docket today that people are advocating around and about. We're in the Black Lives Matter era. We see all the protests now about what's happening in the Middle East. People are becoming much more engaged, much more activist. Just because I'm curious, take you back to that era and tell me what your mother was an activist around. I get the educator part. What was happening in your neck of the woods that had your mother fully active?
Well, she was coming from that era, right? The 60s and stuff like that. So she always says, her generation, they were fighting for rights, and then she said, your generation, y'all got to go get the bag.
Wow.
We're gonna put y'all in position to go get it. And I feel, we'll talk about this in a bit, but there are a lot of these things. What we're talking about right now is laid out in my book.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Some of these isms, and the book takes place 100 years from now. The reason why I'm bringing it up right now is because it's just, it's for me, it's sad that we're still dealing with some of these issues as a Black community. But what I will say is that what I've found is that when you broaden it out and you go backwards a little bit, maybe 100, 200, 300 years before that, it's less about the color, and it's a human experience. There are things that humans seem to do repeatedly that we don't get right. And we need to learn from those sort of things in order to progressively move forward. And so the thing about this younger generation, that what we got indoctrinated with in school is that, MLK was assassinated for his beliefs. And that's not the truth. He was assassinated because he was making inroads to true power. And that's what the younger generation needs to really know, is that he was playing a real game, having meetings at the White House about getting laws changed. That's when he became a threat. It wasn't just this ethereal feeling of turn the other cheek. It wasn't like that. That's not reality. And so where we are now is we're at another crossroads where there's a notion of speaking truth to power, and then there's a notion of taking power. And I think this younger generation has to focus on the latter. That we have to, and you do it through the system of democracy and so forth and so on. But as you look at the top, you really have to look to your local environment to see who runs what, and we have the power to shift those things. You know, who's from the councilmen to the congressmen to the senators to run the whole gamut. Who are the federal judges in your state or in your area? Who are these people? What are they campaigning for? You know, and essentially the people do have the power. We just don't galvanize together. Now, ironically, we have examples right in front of our face. Or you just mentioned earlier, Black Lives Matter. Okay. Those were times when everyone woke up on the same accord and went outside. And what did we see? Law enforcement, all these big institutions backing down because there's way more of us than there are of them. And you mix that with their people too. It's not like they're robots without emotions and families that have their own stories that they're living, right? So you got to see people en masse take control of the moment that there was no plan attached for afterwards. Okay, what about the day after that?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? And that's what the younger generation has to focus on. Instead of just being caught up in emotions, you have to have the patience to strategize and be pragmatic about those calculations and then move forward with the emotion. Then you can put that back in and you move forward and you really make progress.
He's already teed it up quite nicely, given some of the issues that he's just addressed now that come to life in this book. The finale in this trilogy is called Nubia, The Reckoning. We'll go right inside the pages of Nubia, The Reckoning, when we come forward with our guest, actor and author, Omar Epps.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare? The new LA Care health plan called LA Care Medicare Plus, HMO-DSNP, can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0 premium. LA Care is here to provide Angelenos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost. For $0 premium, you can get full benefits from vision coverage and in-home support services to prescription drug coverage, plus more. Call 855-688-1479. 855-688-1479.
Hi, I'm MC Light. You know me as the rapper. But guess what? I am the CEO of Sunny Girl Incorporated. We call it SGI. And SGI undoubtedly has a Cadillac, an Escalade to be exact. It's luxury at its finest. It's black, it's sleek, it's clean, and I can show up to any red carpet or any event and feel like I'm flossing. I love it. Cadillac.
Visit Cadillac.com for more.
If you're a veteran with a service-connected disability that is directly impacting your ability to work, resources are available to help you find employment. VA's Veteran Readiness and Employment, or VR&E, can assist you with finding a job that uses your existing skills. Or, if you're interested in exploring a new field, a VR&E counselor can help you determine the right education or training options for a new career. Find out if VR&E is right for you by visiting va.gov/VRE today.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
And if you don't know, now you know.
We were talking earlier with Omar Epps about celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, half century in, his film, his classic film, Juice, and that amazing soundtrack on Juice. So, Omar, forgive me for this, but I have a really, really, really smart audience, and I love when Negroes reach out to me to say, did you know? Did you know? Did you know? So, can you hear the song I'm playing, Omar?
Yep.
Yeah. he's laughing already. So people keep asking me, did I know? So you know why I'm playing this song. So just so they know that I know, and I ain't stupid, tell them why I'm playing this song, Omar.
Oh, yeah, that's my beautiful wife. That's one of her first singles. She was in the group Total.
There you go. There you go.
Man.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. I said to Miles, my board out, I said, now, Omar's a bright guy. And of course, he's been married for 15, 16, 17 years. So he better pick up on his cue real fast. He better know why I'm playing this song. So his brilliant and beautiful wife was in Total, the formerly all-female R&B group, the trio, and they sang the hook on Biggie's debut single, Juicy. And so, yes, people, I did know that. And just to let you know that I knew it, I thought I would have a little fun with Omar about that. All right, Omar, let's go straight inside this book, Nubia, The Reckoning. Tell me about it, sir.
Oh, man, so it's a sequel to the first book, Nubia, The Awakening. And essentially the book is about it's about 3 displaced teenagers who are trying to find their way. Again, it takes place 100 years from now, and they're trying to find their way, and they have ancestral powers that start to sprout, but they're not privy to what it is because they haven't been told about their history from their parents, because Nubia was this utopian nation where man was in such balance with the earth that they were bestowed with powers, but then the island was destroyed, and so the generations before, they thought the powers had died with the island, and then you have this group of teenagers where we start the first book where the powers are still with them. And so in The Reckoning, we pick up from the end of the first book. The Reckoning is now that they have their powers, what are they going to do with them? And so it's a really, really exciting story. I think it's a necessary story. I think I alluded to this earlier, but I tried to, as I was moving forward, meaning like 100 years from now, I found that, again, a lot of these isms, whether it's racism, sexism, classism, they've existed for all of human history. They've just in different fashions. So 100 years from now, after the climate cataclysms have taken place, and this one, that, there's a new geography of the earth as we know it, there's still going to be humans somewhere, and there's still going to be kids, and what are they dealing with? And some of these same issues will permeate, but they'll deal with them in a different way so that maybe 100 years from then, the next generation won't have to deal with it.
The book is called Nubia, The Reckoning by Omar Epps. Our remaining moments with him when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Just a few minutes left in this amazing conversation that I've enjoyed immensely with Omar Epps. We've talked about juice. We could have talked about the beloved romance, Love and Basketball. We could have talked about his role as Dr. Eric Foreman on House. We could have talked about Darnell on This Is Us. He's had an amazing career after starting in Juice at 17. But he said to us earlier in this conversation, he's always been a writer. His book is called Nubia, The Reckoning, available now wherever fine books are sold. Once again, it's called Nubia, The Reckoning. We highly recommend that for your reading pleasure. But you said earlier, again, Omar, that you've always been a writer. So we know the acting thing. So let me just ask you, what itch does the writing scratch for you?
Well, it's about telling stories, right?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this earlier, but that imagery, there is a power in imagery. And for me, for instance, growing up in a single parent household, blue collar, and growing up with a show like The Cosby Show was the first time I saw a functional black family that was happy.
Mm-hmm.
Literally in my life. I hadn't experienced that. Not many people I knew their fathers and so forth and so on. And so seeing, wow, he's a doctor, she's a lawyer, there's always food on the table. That seems small, but that inspired me as a kid because I was like, wow, when I start a family, there goes a template, it can be done. Of course, we had good times, and I love good times because, the father, James, was in the household at least, but he never got the job.
Mm-hmm.
So it always kind of left you on a downtick. Whereas, so the power of imagery is very important to me. And I want to, through storytelling, infuse younger generations with the power of imagery and proper representation. And with the breadcrumb trail that will lead them to the richness of not only our history, but our now, our story that we're writing in real time.
No, I love that. Not just our history, but our now. The book, once again, is called Nubia, The Reckoning. The author of that book is our guest in this hour, Omar Epps. And Omar, I think this is my exit question. I started this conversation almost an hour ago now, referring to it as a career conversation. It has indeed been that. And again, we've only scratched the surface of all the brilliance in your career. But when you look back on it, given where you started in Brooklyn and all we've discussed in this hour, what do you make of this career to date that you have been able to craft?
Honestly, Tavis, I just feel so blessed and so fortunate to have and continue to be a conduit for the light, a conduit for God's work, because that's what anchors me through it all. It comes, you know, the universe is a place that the mind can't fathom how vast it is, right? We use these terms universe and we put these words together, but we don't know most of what's on our own planet. Most of the whole planet is underwater. We don't know what's under there, you know. So when I think about it in those, but from a cosmic sense, we are all connected. We, in some shape, fashion, or form, from the animals to the trees to us, to all of it. And me playing my part in this symphony called life is of the utmost importance. And so ultimately that's what I'm here for, to be a conduit for the light, and through telling these stories and through trying to give people positive energy through fictional depictions of the human experience.
The book is called Nubia, The Reckoning. Omar Epps, you're a bad man. You're a bad man. I appreciate your work and your witness all these years. I thank you for this conversation once again, sir. I deeply, deeply thank you for taking the time, and hope you have a great rest of the day, my friend. All the best to you, brother. Stay strong.
It's an honor. It's an honor to speak to you, and I'm always jealous of you because you have the best Prince interview in the history of all Prince interviews ever.
You are kind. You are kind. Love you, man. Stay strong. I appreciate you. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for tuning in. As always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Mike Johnson is confident in his plan to avert a government shutdown by the end of the week. Johnson's plan would fund some government agencies until mid-January and the rest through early February at current spending levels. He told reporters today that will give Congress enough time to properly go through the appropriations process. But a group of Republican hardliners say they'll vote against the bill due to the lack of spending cuts and conservative policy changes. The Washington, D.C. government wants to give students at locally historically black colleges and universities a pathway into the public service sector.